Good evening. Welcome to the February 9th, 2026 meeting of the Stillwater City Council. This time I will call the meeting to order, and I'll ask that you all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, as we get started, I'll just reiterate what the city attorney said a minute ago, that if you're here to speak on a public hearing item or another item on the agenda, please be sure to sign up over there so we can make sure we get to you. But first, we're going to start with a presentation regarding the Stillwater Public Art Program. Don, Brady? Sorry, Don. It started too quick.
Sorry. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have friends here with us this evening to celebrate Stillwater Public Arts as an official city program. Throughout our community and for many years, we have been doing the work of developing art and artists, from paint, sculpture, dance, music, and more. Collaboratively, we have increased public awareness of existing art spaces and opportunities, and now due to the investment of you all, Council, and many in this room, and those who could not join us this evening, we are moving forward with clarity and a stronger foundation for longevity. As the previous City Council meeting, we shared some history about Stillwater Art Integration, which will transition to Stillwater Public Art. We discussed our art efforts, including the murals at Chris Salmon Plaza, the Utility Art Box program, website, and community-wide art identifiers. Thanks to Billy, who could not join us here this evening. Our goals remain simple: identify and catalog existing public art across Stillwater, increase public awareness of our art spaces and installations, thoughtfully identify future public spaces where art could enhance wayfinding, and establish a formal process for art donations, acquisitions, and funding. Our community-wide partnership continues to grow and includes Prairie Arts, Modelo Art Gallery, Stillwater Public Schools, OSU Museum of Art, Stilly Arts, Career Tech, Visit Stillwater, Chamber, Stillwater History Museum, Stillwonder, Community Center, and Block 34, and many local businesses. One of which I would like to invite up here now, as they have some great news to share with us. Laura, can you join me, please?
All right, thank you, Dawn. And thank you to our city council members, our mayor, our city manager, members of the Stillwater Art Integration, and all of the art enthusiasts of Stillwater, whose teamwork has made today possible. If we haven't met, I'm Laura Griffith-Offlager, and I serve as president of OnCue, and I am joined today by some of my amazing coworkers, Marla Ruark, our CFO and art advocate, Steve James, and then my dad, OnCue CEO, Jim Griffith, who's also a passionate art supporter. We understand the importance of art in community. Art ignites change, it brings joy, strengthens pride in our hometown, and creates shared spaces that are free and accessible for everyone. Public art has the power to inspire, connect people, and tell the story of a city in a way that nothing else can. On behalf of our entire team at OnCue, we are honored to commit $100,000 to launch the Stillwater Public Art Program. Thank you, Vanna. Public art brings people together. It sparks creativity, reflects who we are, and creates beautiful shared spaces that inspire connection, pride, and growth. We believe investing in art is investing in the future of Stillwater. Our family and our company have always believed in the power of art, and we are proud to support something that will enrich the community for generations to come. Thank you.
Wow, that's great.
Awesome.
We are incredibly grateful for OnCue's support, not only for their monetary investment, but also for their many years invested into public art throughout Oklahoma. Jim and Steve connected us with Cinda Covell, who leads Edmond's public art program, and I cannot speak highly enough to the partnership we have formed with both OnCue and Cinda. They have been instrumental to helping us develop Stillwater Public Art. And I would just want to add in one more thing that I kind of think is neat, is that a few years ago with our Sister City program, we didn't have the funds for the students in Stillwater and Kamioka to visit each other. And so how they connected was by sending art to each other, developing and mailing art. And this year, Stillwater Art Integration, actually our first project was the Chris Salmon murals, and this year is our fourth one, and it's dedicated to Sister City. So it's kind of cool how things come back around. But this really is, I cannot express enough the teamwork approach that we have invested into this.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah. I'd just like to, again, thank Dawn and all the efforts she's put into this, as well as so many different community stakeholders that have been involved with the art integration and the stakeholders that will be on this advisory committee moving forward and the impact they're going to have. And again, just want to thank Jim Griffith and Steve and the Laura, the OnQ family for their passion on this. We've met with them many times and got to hear their desire for a program like this in Stillwater that they've seen elsewhere. And so we're grateful for their initial gift that is going to help seed this and really get it kick-started. So thank you all for your generosity.
Absolutely. I'll just quickly add, OnQ is such a great corporate citizen here in Stillwater, supported so many wonderful things, the OnQ NICU at Stillwater Medical Center and so many other community initiatives. I think this donation towards public art here in the city is just going to be continuing to improve the quality of life in our community, and we appreciate so much the generosity of the entire team at OnQ. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Take a picture.
Okay, Stillwater Art Integration and Public Art, Russ, and let's take a picture together. Let's go. Come on, my friend.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, that's fantastic. Thanks so much. It's hard to overstate the importance of community support like we get from OnQ and so many of our other businesses here in the city.
Mayor, as we move into the consent docket, I do need to note one correction on an item prior to action.
Please.
On item L, which is the last item on the consent docket, there is a typo. The name should be spelled Jerome with a J. It's spelled two different ways in the item, so I just wanted to note that correction prior to action on the item. Again, it should be spelled with a J.
And it's spelled correctly in the documents, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, well, we'll go to the consent docket, item 4 on the agenda. Councilors, questions, comments, or action on the consent docket?
I move approval of consent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. Please vote. Consent docket's approved with a vote of 5-0. Takes us to item 5. Public comment on items not scheduled for public hearing. I don't think I have anyone signed up for that. We do have a public hearing. Did you send, does anybody have my sign-up sheets? Ah, I got them. Found them. All right, we'll get to the public hearing right now. Item 7, public hearings. 7A, pursuant to 11 OS, Section 22-121, the Stillwater City Council will conduct a hearing to determine whether the apartments located at 1815 North Boomer Road, Stillwater, Oklahoma, the dwellings, constitute a public nuisance as defined in 50 OS Section 2 and Section 18-64 of the Stillwater City Code of Ordinances as designated as a nuisance in Section 18-71 of the Stillwater City Code of Ordinances on February 9th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. in the City Council hearing room. At said date and time, the city council shall make a determination as to whether said dwellings constitute a public nuisance as defined by the reference statutes and ordinances, and whether to order the abatement of said dwellings as authorized by 50 OS Section 11 and Section 18-69 of the Stillwater City Code of Ordinances, and the assessment of all associated costs thereof to the owners of said property. For purposes of this hearing and process, the City of Stillwater alleges that the dwellings located at 1815 North Boomer Road, Stillwater, Oklahoma, constitute a public nuisance in accordance with 11 OS Section 22-121 and Sections 18-71, 18-152, 18-153, and 10-111 of the Stillwater Code of Ordinances because of the following. Said dwellings, which through neglect or injury lack necessary repairs or otherwise are in a state of decay or partial ruin to such an extent that it is a hazard to the health, safety, or welfare of the general public, and in particular the residents of the dwellings. Number 2, said dwellings are unfit for human occupancy due to the lack of hot water and heat, which is a hazard to the health, safety, and welfare of the public, including the residents and visitors. Number 3, with regard to the foregoing, said dwellings are presently maintained in violation of the following code sections of the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code. IPMC 505.1, every sink, lavatory, bathtub, shower, drinking fountain, water closet, or other plumbing fixture shall be properly connected to either a public water system or to an approved private water system. Kitchen sinks, lavatories, laundry facilities, bathtubs, and showers shall be supplied with hot or tempered and cold water in accordance with the International Plumbing Code. Also, IPMC 505.3 supply. The water supply system shall be installed and maintained to provide a supply of water to plumbing fixtures, devices, and appurtenances in sufficient volume and at pressures adequate to enable the fixtures to function properly, safely, and free from all defects and leaks. IPMC 505.4. Water heating facilities. Water heating facilities shall be properly installed, maintained, and capable of providing an adequate amount of water to be drawn at every required sink, lavatory, bathtub, shower, and laundry facility at a temperature not less than 110 degrees. And IPM C 602-602.3, heat supply. Heat shall be supplied in all habitable rooms, bathrooms, and toilet rooms in order to maintain a minimum temperature of 68 degrees. I was waiting for one of you lawyers to jump in and tell me I didn't have to read that whole thing.
I
but
think you
nobody
did a very
so I
thorough
read
job.
it.
We do have good public
We had good notice on this item.
Yes, we do.
Special Counsel Beth Ann Childs.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Beth Ann Childs. I am Special Nuisance Counsel for the City of Stillwater. You may recall that just over a month ago, this matter was set for a public hearing before you. I had been working with the attorney and representatives of Vesta Realty, who are the operators, and at their request, we recommended that you table this for a month. I would like to say just a couple of quick things before I turn it over to my colleague, Code Officer Moore. The first thing is that when Code Enforcement initially brought this to me, they were really very concerned for the residents living in these dwellings. Not having hot water, not having heat, those are big problems. And we are and always have been very concerned about the individuals that reside here. Clearly, this is sort of an unprecedented stance for a municipality in the state of Oklahoma to take. You may be aware, but we're pretty active in the International Municipal Lawyers Association. In other jurisdictions throughout the United States, municipalities do take an active role in housing, but that doesn't necessarily happen all that often here, even though there is a housing authority. But because of the magnitude of the problem and the concerns that were raised by the citizens, particularly after this Jerusalem interest, the code officers and lots of other folks have been very vigilant in trying to bring this to resolution. The other thing that I will mention is later on this evening, you will be asked to consider a resolution. Initially, the resolution recommendation was just going to be to declare a public nuisance and authorize the city manager to move forward. But as the city attorney and I discussed this and we began having some internal discussions about this, we decided that probably an appropriate alternative would be to take this to the district court. And so you will notice that there is a little bit of a change in that we're recommending in the event at the conclusion of the public hearing, once you consider it, that you consider approving the authorization, which would allow us to take it directly to the district court level. And I do think, I'd like to mention just a couple of things about that real quickly. First of all, I think that because this is so challenging, it is a large area, it does involve people's private residences, and also the potential cost is enormous. We feel like it really does offer a measure of protection for the city of Stillwater and its employees if we get a district court to sign off on it. Also, in the event that serious progress is made on these, then it does afford a little bit of time for Vesta to make those improvements. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask Code Officer Moore to review just briefly what happened the last time we were here and also provide insight on what's happened since it was initially before you.
Good evening, Council. As you recall, a brief overview of Remington Ranch, built in 1969, 12 buildings, approximately 300 1- and 2-bedroom, 1-bath units. The hot water is provided by Central Boiler Systems, servicing 4 buildings, give or take per setup. On 11 November of last year, we notified Ms. Childs about ongoing issues with no hot water. We set up communication with the management there, started to kind of get to the bottom of what was going on and what needed to be done. We advised the Vesta reps of numerous calls that they received. They advised that they had ordered new pumps and were working on remedying the issues. Unfortunately, these just seemed to be Band-Aids that weren't getting the job done adequately the way we had needed it. On the 24th of November, we did issue a letter advising about a public nuisance and our intent to abate the situations. They acknowledged the receipt of the letter. Then they began working on, again, the lines, the existing lines from the boiler system. Got some progress, but again, it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back with each repair. It's a 50-year-old infrastructure, and unfortunately, it wears out. Then so we had VIP Plumbing out there. They addressed numerous leaks and worked tirelessly to try to remedy the situations. Then it got to the point where intermittent hot water was being restored to the buildings. Then it was decided to go with installing a water heater in each individual unit. They did retain VIP to begin with Building A and local field electric to add the electric source for each of those systems. There was some delays, some with weather, which, I mean, that's one thing we can't control. Then they're getting some of the equipment, some of the materials needed. Again, it's just been a long, drawn-out process. Then the 12th of this year, we agreed to table till tonight. Since then, installation on progress on Building A. At one point, staff was notified on the 12th that finances were secured to begin work on Building C, so they lined up another company to begin on that building. Contracts delayed due to winter weather. The 4th of February, the inspectors went out and were able to inspect half of Building A. That's units 1 through 14 and 17 and 18, just because of the way that's set up. I know if you got a little OCD like me, you're thinking we're 15 and 16, but it's just the way that it's set up. On the 5th of this month, they were able to complete the first half of the inspections. There were 2 units that initially did not pass inspection. They went back on site. The contractor flipped the switch, and they worked. So the inspectors were able to sign off on the first 16 units. While we were on site discussing that, I was able to meet with the company that was going to begin on Building C. They had the equipment to kind of do their test run on the first unit. And then as of today, that day we posted the public notice throughout the complex that we're going to have this audience with you this evening. Then today, my partner, Officer Laporte, went out there. He observed field electric on site, working on the rest of Building A. And then Integrity Plumbing and Electric was on site to begin work on Building C. They were beginning to unload their materials, and they estimate to have about 4 units done this week. Again, it's kind of like we explained the last time. First couple of units are a learning curve, and so once they get going and everything, it will pick up on the pace. But that moves us forward to where we are this evening. Work is getting done. It has been slow. Given the pace of work, staff was going to recommend move forward with penalties against Remington Ranch. However, like Ms. Childs said, that site had been changed. So we just thank the council for listening to what we have to offer and move on from there.
And I do have a couple of other things that I would like to add. As you know, when we initially began this process, we thought that it was prudent to create a written official record. And so that was previously provided to the council as well as representatives of VESTA, just because we think that it paints a really, really important picture of, with regard to all of our nuisance abatement actions, but particularly in this one. I would like to recognize Code Officer Moore, because one of the things that he did today is he did go back and check the utility bills. And currently there's close to $200,000 that's owed to the city of Stillwater for utility payments. Technically, they qualify to go on a cutoff list. Obviously, we absolutely positively recommend that that action not be taken. That would only create more problems. I would like to say the attorney for Vesta is here. He has been very responsive, and immediately when I found out about the utility issue, I let him know that so that they could make arrangements to do that. I'm happy to answer any other questions before you open the public hearing.
Councilors, questions for staff?
So 28 days ago, when we met, how many of these water heaters were installed and working?
None were there. I believe 2 to 4 were installed. None were working at that time. Sir.
And how many are installed and working 28 days later?
16.
So less than 1 a day.
Yes, sir.
And how many more to go?
Approximately 283.
Do we know how many residents are currently without this service in their unit?
I do not at this time, ma'am. I know that we've again had some intermittent. We do drive through the complex regularly, and if we catch people out and about, we ask them if they have hot water, and majority of them have had hot water as of late. There's been some intermittent outages with the hot water, but I do not have an exact number.
Do we know which are all of the buildings impacted? I mean, it's just strictly the boiler system is failing, period, across all clusters of buildings, or are there?
That's the best of our knowledge. Yes, it appears that it's kind of on a recirculation system. So you'll have one building that half will have hot water, but somewhere in the middle of that system, there's a failure to where the other half that's on the backside return does not have hot water.
So really the expectation is that all 300 units need to have this replacement for hot water heaters.
That's correct.
You mentioned that we're talking about 50-year-old infrastructure here. From your standpoint, and I know you guys don't get in and necessarily poke around at all the details, but how much of this is still 50 years old? I mean, we're talking about infrastructure that's been updated at all in the last 15, 20 years, or is this stuff that's been there for the whole time?
Visiting with the plumbers and stuff, there is some update. It's patchwork throughout.
But it's never been like fully, completely renovated or anything.
That's correct.
Councilors, further questions for staff at this point? Do we have representatives from the owner?
You
do.
do
We do that during the public hearing?
Yes.
Or do we do that after, or how do you want to do it?
I'd probably recommend that you let them speak, but then after the residents speak, you might want to give them an opportunity, VESPA representatives, an opportunity to speak afterwards if you don't mind.
I would love to have a VESPA representative come up before we open the public hearing, if that's okay. If you could introduce yourself for the record, appreciate it.
My name is Paige Walters. I'm in-house counsel for Vesta Realty, the property management company for the apartment complex. And so what I wanted to address to the councilors today is that we are as frustrated by this situation as the city is.
I find that hard to believe.
Well, then we are a close second, and I would apologize for implying otherwise. Our goal is to work to resolve a systemic issue that, as was mentioned, is far in excess of what was anticipated. Towards that end, what we have been communicating with the city's attorney's office is that while all buildings ultimately need this repair work, there are 4 buildings A through D, which are of critical priority. As of today, we are estimating a completion date of end of next week for buildings A and B. A and C. Then we will be transitioning to work on building B. We have 3 contractors working on this right now. The contractor Integrity Solutions will be handling the work on buildings B, C, and D. So they are wanting to clear work on building C before transitioning to the others. Building D is the lower priority in a serious situation because it currently has full access to hot water. We, of course, recognize that that is a temporary solution, but our goal is to address this all timely, and we are anticipating for those priority complexes a completion date of end of March. Therefore, we would like to request for the city another 30-day continuance that can be monitored, of course, and reviewed to ensure that we do this. The reason being that the move to district court will unfortunately create difficulties for my client that will hinder rather than assist in the urgent and necessary repair work that is ongoing.
Counselor, is there a representative from your client here?
Yes, I have 3 people who can speak specifically to the issues.
I have a couple of business questions about occupancy. Do you know what the current occupancy percentage is on the complex?
Why don't you come up and
Hi, my name is Laura Berg, and I have been acting property manager at Remington Ranch since October 31st,
And you said 71% occupancy?
currently.
So that's, I can't do math, 200 some units? Do you know how many currently are having problems with their hot water heater?
So we've got intermittent outages in building B and C, which are 2 of our larger buildings out of the 4. Half of building A, as I mentioned previously, units A1 through A14, then A17 and A18, all passed inspection last week and have hot water. So I'd say probably 50 to 60 residents.
And I wasn't here for the last meeting, so I may have missed this when I watched it, but have you offered rent rebates, discounts to the folks who are struggling with this problem?
We did request that we give those rebates to the residents as soon as we had the hot water issue restored. We've just issued 1-month credits to everybody that had passed inspection in building A.
So once their hot water's back on, then you're giving them a credit for their past rent?
That is what they've decided to
But
do.
the folks
yes.
who don't have, who decided to do?
That's what we've decided at corporate office level to offer.
But the folks
at
who
this
still
time.
have hot water now are not seeing any sort of financial remuneration for their struggle?
We have not at this time yet.
Are you letting people out of their leases if they are wanting to leave?
Yes, we've also offered to transfer them to, the same floor plan that they have in a building that has hot water. We've also had several vacant apartments open for people to use showers or have hot water in the meantime.
Before tonight, were you aware that the complex is $200,000 behind on its utility bill to the city?
I was not.
I guess my question is, if we're not discounting rent and we're not paying our utility bill, where's the rent money? Where is this money going if it's not being used to either remunerate these people for the fact that they don't have hot water or to pay your utility bill? How much is being spent on repairs and how much is going somewhere else?
Sure. So I know since October 31st, since I've been at the property, we have spent over $250,000 just in hot water line repairs before we even put any money towards the hot water tank installations.
So you spent $250,000 trying to repair the current boiler system before you even
The
started
boiler
trying
system and all of the leaks that would pop up, the underground leaks on the hot water lines.
How long has Vesta owned this complex? Do you know?
Yes, April 2024.
When it was purchased less than 2 years ago, was there an inspection done? Did you guys understand that this was a potential problem for the complex?
I am not aware. I don't have that information for you at this time.
Counselors, other questions?
I have a comment. You indicated, Counselor, that this is a big priority for the company, but in the last 28 days, they've completed 2/3 of a water heater per day. That doesn't sound like a priority to me.
I have been in direct communication with the CEO of the company, who has wanted to put all hands on deck, all resources that can be dedicated to this. As the code enforcement officer mentioned, this is unfortunately a situation where it takes time to get online and up and running, but we are confident that we have reached the point now that there will be serious and progress in addressing the systemic issues, and that while certainly we are unhappy with the progress that you mentioned, as I stated, we expect to see significant movement forward, hence the request for the continuance.
Okay, well, 28 days ago, we were told basically the same thing by our counselor who had been speaking to people within Vesta, that this was a priority. We would see significant progress in the next 28 days. That hasn't happened. So how can we feel any assurance that it'll happen in the next 28 days?
Okay. May I bring in another witness to discuss?
Well, this isn't a trial, but you can certainly have anybody from your company speak that would like to.
I apologize. So habit kicks in. So. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Good evening, Council. My name is Oki Kellerman. I serve as direct contact between the contractors and Vesta. And since we started the project, we started with VIP and Field Electric, which we're doing separate plumbing and electrical work. And then since we have started working with Integrity Solutions, who would combine these two, and then we started last week, Thursday, with Integrity, and then until today they have finished 4, and they are estimated to have another 4 done by Thursday. So we're looking at about approximately 8 units per week. That's what we're trying to get to, and then as well as using the help of Field Electric and VIP Plumbing as we move forward.
So is the plan to install a hot water tank in each individual unit?
Yes, sir.
So you're not going to try to repair the central system?
So the way that it works is we got to take each building off of the boiler system, and that would be 16 units at a time. So once 16 are done, we can cap off the boiler, or we can cap off the hot water line from the boiler system, and then that specific building would be on their own system.
So do we have any buildings that you've done that to yet?
We have half of building A.
Half of building A?
Yes.
Okay.
We are waiting on Field Electric for the second half. They started today on the second half of building A.
So are these hot water tanks in the unit, or are they in a basement or somewhere else?
Yes, they are in, I believe, in the closet. There's a marked space for, yes, in the closet.
So at 8 units per week, it's still going to take 35 weeks to finish this project. With 283 units.
Yes, I believe one of the buildings, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe building J is on their own system already. They have electric water heaters in their units, so that leaves us with approximately 263. Yes.
Which are still dozens of weeks at 8 per week.
Yes, as we move forward, we're hoping to be a little bit more efficient with timing, yes.
Counselor, to clarify, it is buildings A through D which are experiencing the most serious water loss. The other units, while they certainly need this repair work, are currently functioning at capacity, and we anticipate that on-site maintenance will be able to handle any issues that arise while the priority work is ongoing. So
So how
your
many units
end of
remain?
I'm sorry.
So how many units remain in buildings A through D? How many units?
Will be
16 units times 4 buildings, would be
16,
64
yes,
units.
60, was that 64?
Half of them are done.
Well,
64 total? So 64 total.
and they have 8 done.
So that's 8 weeks.
Still 2 months. Middle
Well,
winter.
when you said end of March, you meant for this priority, these 4 buildings that are in the priority, you think will be done by the end of March?
correct.
Are the contractors being paid? Do you have funding for all of this to happen by the end of March?
Yes, all contractors have been paid. There was an unfortunate issue with an administrative error with one payment to Fields Electric. It did take us, unfortunately, longer to notice that when it should have, but we noticed the issue and corrected it. There are no other errors with the contractors, and funding is available to ensure that this project is completed.
Yeah. So that, yes, the utility bill would then be the next bill that we're worried about, right? Because
Absolutely. I will be upfront that this is the first I have heard of this. I am sure that this is a major issue for the company, and we will immediately discuss this afterwards to ensure that an adequate explanation can be provided along with payment to the city. So,
I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think at the last meeting, we also were discussing how many of the water heaters were actually available and on site for installation. And I think that was, there wasn't the right numbers. We didn't have access, there wasn't ordered or in or delivered, or is there assurance that there's water heaters available? Are they on site to be installed? Are they coming on site at the pace that you're discussing them being installed?
just for clarification for my colleagues, at the prior meeting, there was a discussion of about 20 units being on site with waiting for storage space to clear. So please provide.
I believe building C that were currently started last week, I believe that they have water heaters in stock and on site and ready to install.
So one of the four.
4 buildings.
One of the 4 buildings. So you have enough water heaters to install on site to install for one building?
So yes, as we're doing building by building, we leave that, or that's in the hands of the contractors in order to get those units on site. So they coordinate the units or the heaters coming into the property and storing them there for installation.
So is it storage is the challenge, not that they're available to purchase?
I believe that they should have them equipped and ready to go. They should have them in stock, yes.
The other, you said buildings A through D were the issue and everybody else's hot water is fine? Is that, did I hear that correctly?
I'll bring in another of my colleagues to discuss that, but overall, while the entire building, the entire complex needs this work, those are the priority units that are seeing the most frequent hot water loss. All other buildings, and we'll have someone testify to that. So.
Yes, as far as we are aware, at this time, all of our other buildings have sufficient hot water.
When you say as far as you're aware, are you talking to these residents? Like, have you reached out proactively to everybody who lives in this apartment complex and said, tell us what's going on with your hot water?
I have not personally reached out to every single resident this week, especially to find out, but I've followed up with quite a few, and especially over the course of the last few months, I communicate with everybody regularly. They know how to respond, and we're diligent about asking if you have any issues, please contact us immediately and make us aware of it. So at this time, I've not been made aware of any other hot water issues for any of our other buildings.
I'm sorry, Councilor Hawkins, I cut you off there.
No, it's okay. So other buildings, all the hot water's fine all the time?
Yes, we do. We never know. As I talked about earlier, we've spent $250,000 in hot water line repairs over, the last 3 months. So, I mean, another one could pop up tomorrow or tonight, but at this time, they do.
It seems like from several of the emails that we received from, or that we've seen from people that live there, this isn't just the last 3 months issue, that it's been going on significantly longer. So I guess so why is it taking so long to do anything about it? I mean, I think if any of us were living without hot water, we would want something done immediately, especially if we're paying rent where that's supposed to be included.
Absolutely. As far as I'm aware, I was not on site before that time, before October. The same issue we were experiencing all throughout the property was the hot water line breaks. So they would go in and repair those, make any repairs to, any of the boiler systems, and then they would be fine. So, but because this has been an ongoing issue since we've owned the property, it's just time to find a different solution, which is now why we are wanting to install hot water tanks into individual units so that we don't continue to have this issue going forward.
So is your office open 7 days a week?
No. We do have emergency maintenance available to our residents 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Are you on site 5 days a week, you personally?
I am personally on site 5 days a week.
Couple clarifications to add to that. Unsurprisingly, the difficulties at the apartment complex are as hard on our staff as they are on the residents. And obviously, the residents suffer more.
Again, I don't think that's true.
Well,
These people don't have hot water in their homes.
Let me rephrase.
Your staff does.
It is difficult for our staff as well. Certainly, it is more difficult for the residents. As a result, we have experienced staff turnover on site, which is why we had to state that, to our knowledge, were the prior issues, as was brought up by the counselor. Additionally, we are certainly sympathetic to the residents' issues. We have City Attorney has been gracious enough to provide us with some of the communications that your offices have received with regards to this. We've made an effort to reach out to those residents whose issues had not already been addressed by the time they came to our attention. Additionally, we have been in constant and remain in constant communication with the residents, doing our best to daily update them with regards to the issues. And as part of that, one of the requests that we wanted to provide, if I can find it. Bear with me, my notes got messed up. Is an email address that is available along with the emergency service to residents 24/7. This email address is monitored all the way up to the CEO himself who reviews this. This is feedback@VestaRealProperty.com. And we just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that that is another avenue, certainly, that we want to provide to the residents to help while the repairs are ongoing.
So another issue you mentioned is if we go forward with this, it would affect your ability to do the work through financing. Could you talk about that?
Yes. I will be upfront. That is, I am a litigation attorney. I am not dealing with that on a day-to-day basis, but my understanding...
It's okay, we're city councilors too.
My understanding from speaking with our executives is that there are a number of institutions that are right now supportive of our efforts. They believe that we are taking the proper and appropriate steps. However, an escalation to district court action triggers a number of notice requirements and clause issues within our contracts that will change the nature of our relationships with them. Not necessarily adversarial, but it will cause cascading issues that will create additional problems for getting the repair work done.
So are you relying on these existing mortgage holders to provide more funding to do this?
I'm afraid I cannot answer that question.
Because you don't know or because you can't tell us?
I do not know. So I'm not, there is no effort to hide the ball here. Normally, I'm dealing with slip and fall cases and things of that nature.
Well, I mean, I think it's a reasonable question, because if that is a matter that you feel is necessary for us to consider when we're making a decision, if you don't have decision makers here or folks who understand that issue to explain it to us, it makes it harder for us to consider it as a reason to not move forward.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we received notice, or our understanding was that we would need to prepare for this meeting over the weekend. And so we have been working nonstop to try and get ready. Our COO, who would be in a position to provide that information, is unfortunately out sick, and the CEO, unfortunately, was unable to attend this due to a prior scheduling conflict.
How many properties does Vesta own? Here in Stillwater. Is this the only one?
This is the only one.
Yes.
In Tulsa, like where else do you own property?
Tulsa, Oklahoma City, one in Wichita, one in Little Rock.
Are any of the other ones currently having problems delivering hot water to 50 or 60 of its residents?
My understanding is no. There certainly we have individual issues with regards to hot water supply, but this issue before the city is unique for our organization.
So is there a bigger apartment maintenance issue happening at any of your other properties around the state or other places? I'm just wondering if the CEO considers this to be a priority, why he couldn't figure out a way to be here to address the issues that need to be addressed.
Unfortunately, I cannot speak for the CEO's schedule, but I can promise you that I have been in constant communication with him over the last several days. He messaged me just before I walked in here to confirm the start time, because he wants to make sure that this turns out well. If he could be here, he would be here.
Okay. Further questions before we open a public hearing? I'd like to get some feedback from some of the residents, I think. Thank you all. This time I will open the public hearing. I have 3 people signed up to speak. I'll call you up, I think, in whatever order you're in. And you'll have 5 minutes. Please introduce yourself, your name and your address, and let us know what you have to say. First up, Ronald Balderson.
My name's Ronald Balderson. I live at 1815 North Boomer Road, F17 apartment. Now, like I said back in the 12th, I'm not as unfortunate as a lot of these other people. I do have hot water because we have a tankless hot water heater. But my wife, the day after that meeting, put in a work order on the 13th of January to have our upstairs neighbor's bathtub drain checked out and fixed. And they called us today, okay, to say that they finally got the parts in. Well, it's kind of funny. They haven't even been upstairs or to our apartment to see what the problem was. Now, my wife did leave a detailed list, but how do we know what it is? Cracked pipe, cracked drain pipe, whatever. They don't know because they have not taken the time to even come in and look. And I'm pretty sure everybody here has Facebook, am I right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. You can see that the owner or whatever, Mark, whatever his last name is probably getting a hold of these people in between his poker hands, because he does like to play poker. Now, I do too. I'm not going to lie. I'm a good one. But I know when someone's bluffing. I'm sorry, but that's all I really need to say. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Joyce Fox.
My name is Joyce Fox. I live at 1815 Boomer Road. I have a client right here behind me with his dog and everything. He's deaf. He moved in December the 18th. He didn't even have a tank in his apartment for over 3 weeks before they finally got him a tank hook in there. I've been getting heard this story, that story from the office, from the plumber people, from the electrician. Like this morning, the guy said, "Oh, we're going to get to your building today." They didn't get to our building at all. They only done the upstairs. They didn't even work on our part on downstairs. The apartment across from us, A13. He got his hot water turned on when I was told we were supposed to have hot water that same day they were supposed to be getting hot water too. It's hard for me to keep him clean when he's a heart patient and he has problems with just certain things for himself. I had to boil hot water, carry a big bucket, big pot of hot water to pour in the bathtub 9 times or more to get enough water to get him a bath. I'm just at my ends with this. I know he needs this place to stay because we lost our house in December of the fire. And I'm going to thank the fire department for being there to help us out on that. But the problem is they need more people there to do their job. The construction people, the one that does the wiring and stuff, they need more workers and quit yakking. They were standing right there by my big window just yakking away. They need to be doing their job. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Desiree Pierce.
Hello, my name's Desiree Pierce. I live at 1815 North Boomer Road.
Desiree, can you speak up into the mic just a
B28.
little bit? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. For most of you remember from last time, I haven't had hot water since November 11th. The manager has called a few times to ask me if I have hot water. When I tell her no, she clarifies by asking if I completely don't have hot water or if I just have lukewarm. I've clarified that it's somewhat warm. After the last meeting, my heater broke the morning of, I think, the first snow. They sent maintenance that day, but he couldn't fix it, and they said he needed to contact an HVAC, which he could guarantee wouldn't come over the weekend, and they didn't. It was about a week later when they finally got portable heaters, so we had to stay somewhere else for a week. I've spoke with her about getting a reimbursement on rent or a credit or something, and she just asked me to put that in writing. I've sent an email. I have not gotten a response on that email. Part of my concern is the sealing of the parking lot during winter when there's people who don't have hot water or heat. And besides Facebook, I don't have that, but I do have the news. And we can see that the owner owes millions in loans, over $300,000 in credit card debt. I believe I seen an interview with another one of his properties in Oklahoma City where a employee said she quit, she wasn't getting paid. Another one that didn't have water. A previous employer at our location that I know that also didn't get paid. I can see that it is probably frustrating for them, the job they have. We're going to call constantly because we're tired of being told. I mean, literally, when this started, it was, this will be a week or two. I don't think they can understand it. It's been going on for long enough that it's not, I don't feel the sincerity and the sympathy. I mean, unless they want to come to my house and take a bath in that water themselves every day, I don't, you wouldn't choose it. My concern is just that if the money will be there, just like the HVAC, it took a week for them to find a company that would come look at it and then actually think it was fixed with parts from a different vacant apartment. I don't know if they need a whole new finance team. At one point with my lease before, they went 7 months without noticing that housing hadn't paid my rent and never even let me know that rent hadn't been paid until my lease was time to be renewed, and then they wanted all that back money. My lease was up in December, and I did send a 30-day notice on December 4th requesting to move out because at the time I had a property to move into. And I actually was declined because my lease said I needed a 60-day notice. And I'm on a month-to-month now, and I think about every week or two she calls and asks if I would like to renew my lease yet, and I tell her no every time. My concern is just really if it's going to get fixed in another month and no reimbursements, no credits, more problems are going to continue to pop up. That's also going to cost them money. So I'm just looking at the priorities because sealing the property, the parking lot that still has potholes, just seemed like a waste of money at that time to me.
Ma'am, ma'am,
Maybe.
I'm sorry. Did you say you're building B?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Thank you, sorry.
Go ahead.
So, one more quick question for you. So you're in Building B. Have you been offered to move to another apartment within the complex?
I have not been offered to move. I was, when I didn't have heat, I was offered to stay in a vacant apartment.
Okay, thanks.
I don't have anyone else signed up to speak in the public hearing. Was there anyone else that was planning to be here to speak? All right, at this time, I'll close the public hearing. I would actually like to invite Mr. Waters to come back up and when's Building B going to have water heaters?
Sure. And real fast, before that question is answered, I just want to let the tenants know who are in this, we are more than happy to meet and talk with them once this hearing is concluded to immediately discuss with them regarding the issues they've raised. So,
well, I appreciate that, but what we've heard is that folks have reached out and asked for clarifications, have asked for timing, when's this going to be done, and haven't gotten those responses. And so to be here at a hearing and having this discussion in public for you to say, oh yeah, we'll talk to you about it, like that, November 11th is almost 3 months ago. I mean, it's difficult for us to for me to understand. Certainly, I can speak for the rest of us, but why would anybody believe that that from here on out it's going to be any different? I mean, I know you sort of answered that question, but what possible reason could you give us to think that something is changing here? Is there additional financing that's been secured? Is there additional? Clearly, the fact that the CEO's not here doesn't show me any sort of additional concern that the company's putting on this. What convinced me that there's a reason that we should believe it's going to be different in the future?
well, the reasons are the reasons we've enumerated, but additionally, as far as the individual tenants are concerned, I'll be looking at the issues. I'll be speaking with them. I'll make sure that I can't speak to why there might have been a delay in communication. I know in other situations there's unfortunately been staff turnover, or a message gets lost, or the issue we believe is resolved and there's a miscommunication that takes place. I'll be in a position to specifically look at these and ensure that responses are delivered. Now, obviously, unfortunately, I can't deliver that all the time, but one of the things that the regional manager, Jamie, and I will discuss moving forward is to make sure that we have good systems in place to ensure that the residents' concerns are addressed. So,
you referenced the regional manager, Jamie?
Yes.
Jamie, could you come up, please?
Or sorry, I apologize, the property manager.
The property manager. Mm-hmm. What's your role?
I'm the regional property manager.
So you cover multiple complexes?
Correct.
How many do you cover?
6.
Where are they?
Primarily in Tulsa, but I also have 2 in Jinx.
Okay. Any of them have these kinds of problems?
No, sir.
Do you guys understand that your business is people's homes?
Yes.
And I mean, I get, these comments about we have trouble keeping staff, or there's difficulty, that sort of thing. But I mean, this is where people live. Your job is to provide a home for people to just take a bath in. And it doesn't feel like an excuse of, well, it's hard to keep staff, is really difficult for us to sort of sit here and say that you're taking it seriously enough. I mean, if you can put in 8 hot water heaters a week with one company, go get another company and put in 16 a week. Like the level of commitment and urgency to give people a place to live, which is why they're in a contract with you, it's very difficult for us to see. Do you feel like the level of urgency is commensurate with the fact that folks have been without hot water for 3 months?
We're doing everything that we possibly can on a site level. Like Laura previously mentioned, we have offered to transfer individuals. We have vacant units that we just, we purchased, shower curtains, floor mats, things like that to equip them so that they can go take a shower. And while I realize that that's an inconvenience for them as well, we're doing our best to provide that access to them. We do have 2 buildings that have tanks that were installed from the previous ownership, which is buildings F and J. So those are the ones that we're primarily offering to transfer current residents to in that main circuit.
Has the woman who spoke here just a second ago, to me, have you tried to find her a space to live, and have you offered to come move her stuff from one apartment to another, other than just saying, hey, you can take a shower over here if you need to?
I'm not authorized to move their belongings
Who
for them.
authorizes that?
That would be the corporate level.
Okay. To me, if I had spaces in my apartment complex that did have hot water, and I had somebody who was living in a unit for 3 months that didn't have hot water, I would say, hey, let's get a couple guys together, we'll move your stuff over and give you a unit that has hot water. Are you suggesting that there are units vacant in this complex with hot water?
Correct.
Why are these people not in them?
Not all of them are in a position that they're physically able to move or that they are interested in moving.
It's so remarkable to hear you say that they're not physically able to move, and yet you are okay with them physically living in an apartment that does not have hot water.
I have never stated that I am okay with that. I'm saying that we are simply doing our best to accommodate them in the best way that I am able to offer.
That's difficult. That's difficult for me to accept. I mean, I appreciate that you're not saying that you don't care about it, but if there are spaces available with hot water in them, I would think you guys would be doing everything you could do to make it possible for them to move, including moving them for them. If they have difficulty with mobility, clearly they got there the first time, they could be moved. And to me, I would think that it would be your responsibility, since you are the one not providing your contractual obligation, to provide these people with a livable unit. And so I would love to hear about how you're actually finding ways to move these people to places where you have hot water. If you have hot water available in vacant units, that's just appalling, honestly.
Yeah, I do apologize. I'm not authorized to offer them.
I would like to talk to whoever's authorized. Okay, because you have a CEO who owns this place. And if that's the one who needs to authorize it, then let's have him come and let's talk to him about authorizing it.
We'll certainly discuss this as soon as the meeting is concluded. I would also add to your point, Mayor, as to hiring on additional teams. That was absolutely something that was considered when we made the determination that this required a systematic overhaul of the units. Unfortunately, it was determined that that would not result in a significant increase in productivity due to the difficulty of coordinating the various teams and the linkage and alignage. We believe that the contractor that we have now that is moving forward with all the units is able to do it at best possible speed.
It's a totally different building. You couldn't get a second contractor to work on building B while they're working on building C? That doesn't seem like a coordination problem to me. That seems like we just don't want to pay for it.
That is not our intent, sir, but I certainly respect your opinion.
Does anybody else have further questions?
I've heard enough.
All right. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate the fact that you're willing to be here and have these conversations and answer the questions.
Of course.
Beth Ann, would you like to close the discussion here?
Obviously, staff recommendation is, now that the public hearing is closed, that you take up the resolution once you get to that, and we would respectfully request that you approve that.
Thank you. We might as well just jump down to item 9. Which is resolutions. We'll come back up to our other public hearing in just a second, but this time...
Are you going to close the public hearing?
I did close the public hearing.
Okay.
Did I not?
He did.
Okay.
I closed it.
I'm sorry, I just missed it.
Close it again.
Okay, thank you.
Super closed. Item 9 in resolutions, we have resolution number CC-2026-2, a resolution of the Stillwater City Council declaring the apartments located at 1815 North Boomer Road, Stillwater, Oklahoma, a public nuisance detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the general public and the community, ordering the nuisance to be abated in accordance with 50 OS Section 11 and Section 18-69 of the City of Stillwater Code of Ordinances, authorizing the filing of a district court action seeking a judicial declaration that the apartments constitute a public nuisance, and entering an order authorizing the City of Stillwater to abate the public nuisances on these properties with costs to be paid by the owner of the properties, and authorizing the city manager to take all actions reasonably necessary to proceed with the abatement and district court cause of action. Just a quick question on this would authorize us to seek a district court action, but we don't necessarily have to do that right away. We could, in discussion with the apartment complex, figure out, okay, there's something happening. We could wait.
You could.
Okay.
But it would be helpful to staff to have some guidance on what that looks like.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess I just meant that it's not necessarily not drafted and ready to file tomorrow morning, we're gonna have to figure it out, or is it?
It's,
Not that I'm against it. I'm just saying.
The goal, the objective would be to file it by the end of the week.
Okay.
And candidly, it's just to keep this moving.
Keep it moving.
So,
Councilors, comments on the resolution?
I move adoption of Resolution CC 2026-2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. Resolution is adopted with a vote of 5-0. These folks deserve homes to live in. Please make it happen. Absolutely. All right, back up to item 8.
Mayor, could I stop
Yes,
you for
ma'am.
just a moment? I did want to let people know, I don't know how helpful this is in the grand scheme of things, but there are a list of resources on the city's website for you in terms of how to talk with code enforcement or legal aid or whatever it is, other resources that you might need. That seems like not a lot, but it is there for you if you need it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All right, we'll go back up to item 7. We're at item 7B under public hearings. 7B is receive public comment regarding a text amendment to Stillwater City Code, Chapter 23, Land Development Code, Article 1, General Provisions, Section 23-7, Definitions, Article 5, Use Categories and Limitations, Division 1, Generally, Section 23-96, Definitions, Article 6, Land Use Classifications, Division 3, Residential Districts, Section 23-140, RMI, Multifamily Intermediate District, and Section 23-141, RMU, Multifamily Urban District, and Article 9, Landscaping, Screening, and Environmental Standards, Section 23-230, Generally. Henry.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilors. My name is Henry Biebelheimer with Development Services, and tonight I'm here to talk to you about a text amendment to the RMI and RMU zoning districts. That's Residential Multifamily Intermediate and Residential Multifamily Urban. The goal of this text amendment is to update the way we regulate Greek houses. Quick background on this. As we all know, we're currently working on an update to Chapter 23, so we're rewriting the Land Development Code. This is something we were working on before we decided to move forward with that Land Development Code update, so this has been in the works for a while, which is why we're moving forward with this separately from that process. So that is still moving forward as well. So this all started whenever we hired a planning consultant to do a comparative analysis of how other college towns similarly sized to Stillwater deal with Greek houses. So with those recommendations and a lot of discussions, we came up with this proposal. So we're going to talk about this list of sections that we're proposing to update. We'll do that one at a time. So first off, we're proposing to update the definition. The definition is on the screen. I'll read it real quick. So a fraternity or sorority house means any building occupied and maintained by a social association of college students and containing group living quarters, wherein for compensation and by prearrangement for definite periods, meals and or lodging are provided exclusively for members of the organization and their guests. So explanation of why we're talking about the definition. We have definitions in multiple sections of our code, but tonight we're talking about 2. Right now it's in 23.7, which is our just general terms that are used throughout the code. So right now, fraternity or sorority house is considered a term. It is in the code. We're proposing to move that to Section 2396, which is our use definitions. What that means is we're now saying this is a use that is allowed in certain districts. When we're moving that definition, we're also adding the screen section, which I'll go ahead and read starting right before that. So it's an association of college students that is affiliated with the university-recognized chapters of fraternity or sorority, just to tighten up that definition a little bit. So since we're moving this to 2396, that's now going to be considered a use. That means we need to say which zoning districts it's allowed in, which is what we're doing in 23.140, which is residential multifamily intermediate. We're just adding it as a permitted use. That's one of the zoning districts that fraternity or sorority houses currently exist in. We are also adding some exceptions to this section, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So we're also adding as an allowed use fraternity or sorority into residential multifamily urban, which is our RMU code, as well as amending those side setbacks. We're amending these side setbacks to mirror the setbacks in the RMI, or residential multifamily intermediate district. But it's a whole paragraph, so let's get into the kind of context around that. So fraternity or sorority houses, when a side yard has a common boundary with property in any single-family residential district or use, the minimum setback is 15 feet. When a side yard has a common boundary with the property in any other district or use, the minimum setback is 5 feet. The reason for that is a lot of these fraternity or sorority houses abut other fraternity or sorority houses, so that's why we have that reduced side setback. One caveat I'll add to this is that there's still an exception in the code that says for each story above the first story, there's an additional 3-foot side setback. So for a 2-foot structure, you'd have an 8-foot side setback. For a 3-foot structure, you'd have an 11. So that does still apply to the setback. But that whole first couple sentences was just to explain that if you're abutting a single-family residential district or use, you would still have the 15-foot side setback that you have right now. We don't want to negatively affect any of those existing uses or districts. So now we're getting to those exceptions. The 23, 140, and 141 is just telling you that these are the two sections that we just talked about. So these are exceptions that will apply in both RMI and RMU. So we'll just go through these one at a time. Residential structures not divided into dwelling units shall have densities determined as each 4 beds shall be deemed to constitute 1 dwelling unit. So this is similar to what's already in code. Why we need this is we have maximum densities that are allowed in each different zoning district. The densities are calculated by dwelling units per acre. That's really easy when it's like an apartment. An apartment is a dwelling unit. When you have an apartment complex with 20 units, that is 20 units per however many square foot that lot is. It gets a little more tricky whenever it's like a fraternity or sorority, for example, because they might have one kitchen, but like that's not 1 unit, if that makes sense. So right now there's a way to calculate it that depends on whether you're a 1 or 2 bedroom unit or whether you have like 3 or more beds in a unit. We wanted to simplify that to just make it easier for the future that each 4 beds is 1 dwelling unit. Next, we have a structure being built for a fraternity or sorority house shall be built to have a residential appearance, which shall include A is a front porch, B is street-facing facades shall be constructed of masonry material, which can include brick, cast stone, stone, or ephes, and stucco, at least 50% of which shall be brick or stone. C is a landscape plan shall be submitted which meets the requirements of 23-230F, which is the next slide, so we'll get into that in just a second. And then lastly, we have all fraternity and sorority houses shall have a maximum height of 2 stories for any portion of a structure that is within 30 foot of a single-family residential zoning district or use. So just to walk through an example of when that would come into play. So if you are abutting a single-family house and you're building a new fraternity or sorority house, since you're abutting that single-family house, you're going to have a 15-foot side setback. Let's say you build right up to that side setback line. For the first 30 foot of that, you would have a maximum height of 2 stories. The rest of the structure can be as tall as you want, not as tall as you want. It has a maximum height of 50 stories for the zoning district. 50 foot is the maximum for RMI and RMU. Yes, important distinction, 50 feet.
We would have to do some new fire equipment for 50 stories.
Yes, we would. So yeah, after that first 30 foot, you could go up to that 50 foot maximum height. But yeah, that basically just requires that height step down so you don't have that 50-foot structure looking right down onto a single-family house. Okay, so the last section that we're talking about tonight is 23-230F, which is our landscaping section. We added in a section just for fraternities or sorority houses that says a landscape plan with at least 1 tree and 10 shrubs per 30 feet of lineal frontage. With Planning Commission's recommendation, it did change the verbiage of this. This is the verbiage that was presented to you and is in the current ordinance. We'll get into those proposed changes in just a second. So in the ordinance that we have right now, corner lots shall provide landscaping for both front yards, and that landscaping shall be a minimum requirement for the lot, which can be clumped or spread throughout the parcel. So let's just jump into that proposed change. It's specifically on that first bullet point. Corner lots shall provide landscaping for the primary front yard, which is the front that the property is addressed from. The reason this change was added in is after we posted the agenda for Planning Commission, so we had already written this ordinance, we had a meeting with the Greek Neighborhood Association who pointed out that for homecoming decorations, the fraternities use their front yards for those homecoming decorations, the decks. So they pointed out that the tree requirement for that front yard could be a burden and negatively affect that. So the Greek Neighborhood Association requested that we decrease that requirement, and we thought that was a fair request. So we changed it for the corner lot specifically. That's because almost all Greek houses are on a corner lot, which means they have at least frontages on 2 streets. Some of them are 3 because they extend a full block. So this would mean that the landscaping requirement is set by the width of the frontage of the street that you are being addressed on. The trees don't necessarily, or all the landscaping doesn't necessarily have to be on that street frontage. That just sets the requirement for the parcel. I'm open to answer any questions if you have any.
Well, I'm just glad to hear you're not trying to zone out house decks, because then we'd all be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that is not the goal.
You mentioned that the Greek Association had asked for that revision. So I would ask, just to make sure that you all have been working with the Greek organization or the Greek Association to make sure that they don't have any other concerns.
Yes, ma'am. We started working with them a little later in the game. We were contacted by them after the first, because they went to Planning Commission twice. After the first Planning Commission hearing, the Greek Neighborhood Association reached out to us to be in contact, and then we started working with them and having those conversations. So we plan on doing that moving forward and working with them on the code update for the bigger picture update.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a curious question. You mentioned trees and shrubs. Are there any definitions of what trees and shrubs, how big, how tall, how short that can be?
I don't have the definition in front of me, but they are both defined in the landscaping section.
Okay.
Any further questions for staff? This time I'll open the public hearing. I don't have anyone signed up to speak on this item. Norman, you're not here to talk about this? All right. I will close the public hearing. Henry, was there a recommendation?
Yes, sir. So on January 27th, 2026, with a vote of 5-0, Planning Commission recommended that the City Council approve the text amendment as presented, with changes made to 23-230F regarding the primary front yard for corner lots landscape requirements.
Thanks, sir. Councilors?
Motion to accept Planning Commission's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept. Please vote. That item is approved with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Henry. Item 8 is general orders. 8A, presentation of the Stillwater Public Library's Stillwater Fire Department collection, which was digitized as an archive collection through a grant from the Oklahoma Historical Society. Stacy.
Good evening. I am Stacy Delano, the director of the Stillwater Public Library, and I have with me Andrea Kane. She is the supervisor of technical services, which is the department that's entrusted with the care and preservation of our archive material. I would say it's probably been since I have been at the library, which is 25 years now. We've always had historic materials like you would envision in an archive. It's just that libraries normally didn't take care of archival material in the same way we think of a university or a museum doing. 10 years ago, we decided to change that, and we decided to actively preserve the materials that we'd been collecting for decades. So with several national and state grants, we created an official archive room, and that now houses about 7,500 items on Stillwater history. We share cultural preservation duties with OSU and with the Stillwater History Museum. The library's focus, however, is on the history of Stillwater's governmental entities and its community organizations. So that, of course, includes the Stillwater Fire Department. Last year, the library added an archive catalog so that community members can view items in the collection once they're digitized. And we also received a $14,000 grant from the Oklahoma Historical Society to digitize the Stillwater Fire Department collection, which was at the time being cared for by OSU's fire protection publications, but then was gifted to the library. The fire department collection consists of over 42 boxes of photos, documents, scrapbooks, and logbooks going over decades of fire department's history. Our OHS grant project included digitizing approximately 40% of this collection, and the result is about 2,000, mostly photographs, that are currently available for use online. The entire collection, however, is available for public viewing and research at the library and is searchable in whole on our archive catalog. We do expect to have interest in the collection on a state and national basis, as well as interest from our community. And use cases for this material includes research on firefighting equipment and techniques, such as these photos I'm going to show you, including Stillwater's 1869 fire truck that it was showing off in a parade, Stillwater's circa 1941 fire truck, and this photo demonstrating a 1940s catch net. Do we still use those, Chief? Another use is for general Stillwater historical research, and that is well shown in this amazing photograph of Oklahoma A&M's women's building during a fire that was happening in 1914. It's a beautiful picture in a weird way, and shows the depth of destruction that occurred, but those are in our archives now. The collection can help with genealogical research because it has multiple photos of personnel in the fire department, as well as entries in shift books. So it'd be a great gift to a family doing research to be able to have some of these photos. Another use is research on the history of Stillwater homes and property. Such as looking into this property depicted, which is 906 South Hester. Another use is for research on the history of businesses and business property. We do get those regular requests for information at the library. We can now provide more of it with this collection, such as the property and businesses located at 14th and Main, and at 1802 East 6th Street. And last, some of the images are just for fun, nice to look at to view high interest historical topics, such as this fireman rescuing a small child from one of the water towers. And then, of course, our very favorite topic at the library, and maybe y'all's, is the fire dogs of Stillwater. So we've got Sparky 1 right here. Do you see him up in the middle of the fellows? Sparky 2, and then the very beloved Queenie. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn over the microphone to Andrea so she can quickly demonstrate how to access these materials in our online catalog.
Thank you, Stacy. So I'm going to start at the library's website, and I'm going to navigate to the research tab and then local history and archive, and click under search special collections, click the link here. And since we have a specific search we want to do, I'm going to click on advanced search. And I'm going to enter Stillwater Fire Department in the collection box, and I have the phrase within quotes so that I don't get records that just contain part of the phrase like Stillwater or department. You can check the box next to only records with images or leave blank to search all files. I'm going to go ahead and search only records with images and scroll till I find a record that I want to take a look at. On the right-hand side is the description, which depending on how much information was known about the items in the files, may include dates, people, and links to similar items. And I'm going to click on an image to open up the image viewer, and that lets me navigate amongst the photos that was in the folder. And there's some nice scenes of 9th Street in front of the original Central Fire Station, equipment, and Campus Fire Station number 2. Going back to my search results, I can get more specific in the description box. And again, it's helpful to use quotes to make sure you really narrow down. So I'm searching for former Chief Ray Davidson. I'm able to bring up some nice photos of him. And I really like this photo of Ray and his wife Hazel. It goes back to what Stacy was saying, that this can be a valuable resource for people researching genealogy. Returning to the search results, I can also search for a specific building. If I know of a building fire, I'm going to search for Stillwater school supplies. And I find these photos really interesting because it shows what 9th and Main used to look like before this building burnt down and had to be demolished. And this is, of course, where the current site of Chris Salmon Plaza.
When was that?
I think 60s or 70s.
Wow.
You would ask me that hard question. 1976. So yeah, you can see the description. So they knew that fire date. Returning to search again, I'm unchecking only records with images. Because if you have a research question, it is important to look at everything. For example, we recently got a question from the Illinois Fire Service Institute, and they were working on an instructor memorial project and needed information on a former firefighter who had worked and trained in Stillwater sometime in the 50s. And by searching our records, I knew that we had past Stillwater Fire Department annual reports, which they still put out, that I could look at. And I found out that he was a part-time student firefighter who attended OSU, and the dates he was in Stillwater. So the wealth of information in the collection has already been very valuable to what we can offer patrons both in Oklahoma and in other states. For patrons who want to make copies of specific photos, what we have in the database is okay, but keep in mind that we have much higher resolution files at the library, which we can give access to upon request. So you could copy it to your own drive and have for yourself. And lastly, for anyone interested in having paper copies of instructions for accessing the database, I will leave some in the lobby for pickup. Okay, back to you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Just to close, I want to profusely thank the Oklahoma Historical Society. They are doing amazing work by putting money in the hands of the entities that have these treasures. We thank the Friends of the Library. They provide almost all of our cash for grant matches that are required. Thank you to the OSU Fire Protection Publications for taking such good care of the materials, to the fire department for allowing us to safekeep their materials, and to our wonderful volunteers who taught us how to archive, preserve, and digitize, including Terry Berry and Kitty Pittman. And most of all, I want to tell you how amazing your technical services staff is at the library. They have just worked all year and done so much, learning so much new material so that they could understand how to help preserve Stillwater history. And as a reward for their hard work, technical services will get to be working even harder this year because we were just notified last week that OHS has awarded us another $15,000 to preserve and describe the Stillwater News Press photograph collection. Wow. That contains over 29,000 files, and I think that this will result in being one of the largest photographic collections in Stillwater. We will not be digitizing them yet because we have to do the preservation and description work, but these photos just tell the story of people in all walks of life throughout the 1950s and 90s and to the 1990s. And we're hoping to begin digitizing those the following year. So we're happy to answer any questions you have, and we really want to welcome people to test out this service because we just intend to keep, as of this time, keep adding to our collections to make it easier for people to research Stillwater.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Counselors, any questions?
Yeah, just really well done. Thank you for your work.
I wish we did this at every city council meeting. I love this kind of stuff, and I think it's awesome, and I'm going to spend tons of time going through this. So thank you for doing it. All right, item 8B, presentation by Washington School Advisory Committee to present the committee's 2026 proposed work plan, including possible action to approve the 2026 work plan and authorize the city manager to execute site access agreements as necessary to allow execution of the work plan. Christy Driscoll.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am staff liaison to the Washington School Advisory Committee, so it is my honor and privilege to introduce our chair, Karen Washington. I don't want to steal any of her thunder, but if you have not yet driven by the site location in even just the last week, please do so. The progress on the site and really opening it up to the community is phenomenal, and I am excited to turn this over. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have of staff following the presentation.
Thank you, Miss Christie. Hello. I made some notes because anybody that knows me know I can go. So I just want to make sure of just certain points because I got a bigger person coming behind me with some good information that we'd like to share. First of all, I'd like to just thank you all. Thank every one of you that has been a part of this project. It has been awesome. A special thank you to the Tourism Advisory Committee. The tear down, I've gotten a lot of comments from the people like, okay, we've been hearing about it, but now it's really happening. When you tear down stuff, that means good stuff is finna come back up. And we know this is a good building. It's not just a building. It represents resilience, education, and it also our community. So it's not just a building, not just anything. So we thank you all. Teamwork making the dream work in our mindset. So today we're coming asking for your approval and support on a work plan. Now we have the building, we have it preserved, we have it safe. Now we need to move forward to the purpose. And our purpose that we're needing to move forward to with the approval of this work plan will address our culture, our education, and our community empowerment. So it's going to be an awesome building. And our chairperson, which is Jim Beckstrom, best chairperson on this side of heaven. He meets regularly, he bugs you often, and he gets things done. So we need your support, and together we can make this dream and this vision come around. So without any further ado, I'll have Jim come, and he'll give you a very detail of our work plan. And again, thank you all so very much.
No pressure.
I was going to say, geez. Thank you, Karen, I think. Well, thank you all. I'm Jim Beckstrom. I'm actually Vice Chair of the Advisory Committee and Chairman of the Stillwater Community Center Foundation. She kind of led this thing off, so I'm just going to jump right into it. The Advisory Committee was formed with several objectives, guidance from the council. To preserve the building, kind of preserve the heritage of the building for educational purposes, sports and recreation, events and parking. Okay, have the property redeveloped. So put it back to work. Structure that's still standing, built in 1938, and it's in phenomenally great shape. And I'll elaborate on that a little bit later. I think I kind of say it's a God thing. I mean, it's a miracle it didn't get torn down because it's in really, really good shape, and it's going to be around for a lot longer. So, and the wording's wrong on here because my understanding is that you were donated the funds and you bought the property. Is that correct? Yeah. There's been a school on this block, African American schools on this block since the late 1800s. So it's kind of like our Block 35 for the white part of town, where the community center is right now. It had schools on it from the late 1800s until it got converted to a community center. So this block had a similar history. This is what was. It no longer is. What is the 1938 structure, and it's beautiful. I've had so many people say, I had no idea that was in there, and it's just gorgeous. And kind of, I don't want to say the centerpiece because that's not true, but the auditorium, the gymnasium, is just a classic gymnasium that a high school would have, multifunctional, and with some proper planning and redevelopment in the redevelopment process, we can make that thing highly flexible. And this is just an example of a great room where you can see African American heritage honored around the perimeter, and it's just banners. And so there's so many things you can do that are cost effective, that really transform a space into something special, and are also adaptable. So if you have another type of event going in there, you just change them out and put other type of banners back up there, and there's a vision that this space would be multi-purpose, be sports, be events. I don't want to say kind of an annex to the Stillwater Community Center, or LAC, Lowry Activity Center, but that's kind of very much the model. And something that can be used for lots and lots of different things, and synergized with the 12th Avenue corridor. We're in contact with the activities going on there. We want to make sure that we're complementing each other and not duplicating and stepping on each other's toes. One of the things I think is the timing was just perfect for this. I had no idea the library was going to be talking about their work. We're a digital world now, and it's not historical experiences are not all about artifacts. Artifacts can be digital. And so having a space that allows you to display historical items and tell a story ends up being a highly adaptable space. So we're looking at leveraging technology in the front part of the building, the heritage part, the conference part, so that we can tell a great story without having lots and lots of stuff on display. So it ends up, I don't want to say this too loosely, but with the flip of a switch, it goes from a heritage center to a business center. You could have a business come in and use this space. You could have the city could come in and use that space. So highly adaptable, recognizing that whatever we do needs to make sense from a business perspective and needs to have an operating plan. We'll talk about that more in a minute. OSU is engaged pretty heavily right now. We have one of the experts on virtual reality involved in the school, and we're looking at ways to leverage that to create a very adaptable space that the whole city can use and actually have regional significance and not crazy expensive. There's been a great community support for this project. This is the first workday, I think, in 2023. Lots and lots of people want to help out and want to see great things happen here. This is from the last workday, which was fall of 2024. We had OSU students all the way up to 80-year-olds. I mean, everybody was working together. It was a great experience. We got a lot done. And they're chomping at the bit to do more, and we'll talk about that more in a bit later. I think you may recognize one of these guys here. He's in this room every now and again. Actually related to somebody in this room, I think. And he knows how to run a chainsaw. So we brought down the breezeways, and we thank you so much for the city's support on Tourist Advisory Committee allocating the funds and the council approving the demolition work. I mean, it's really changed the look and created a sense of excitement. And the dumpsters, providing the dumpsters is hugely helpful. Allowed us to get the metal and the trash away on the last workday. Here's a picture was taken 2 weeks ago. Pretty exciting, actually. And we're chomping at the bit to get back in there and do the next wave of cleanup, more than just kind of sweeping up floors. But the devastating windstorm that we had that burned so many homes and damaged so many homes took the roof off the gymnasium. That was for the first time in almost 100 years that building did not have a roof on the gym. And so we've got exposed wood and structures, and so there's a sense of urgency. That's probably an understatement. We're scrambling to get the money to help. This is a city project, so I mean it's not like the foundation or the advisory committee is going to do the work. The city's going to have to bid that out, and fully recognizing that the funding needs to come from someplace else, and that's what the foundation's chasing money for, to help enable things like this to happen. What I will say, we had a very thorough architecture and engineering study done on the building. And in spite of these kind of selective areas, localized areas where there's problems in the north wing, in the north part of the building is phenomenally structurally sound. There is no compromised structure, with the exception of this crack, for lack of a better word, in the north building, which is, I don't want to say superficial because that makes it sound really minor, but it's very manageable. It's not onerous. And there's another one like it up in that area, but they are not, the wood structure is in fantastic shape. That was the conclusion of the study done. So you've got a really great building to work from here. So our focus has been on the main structure, the 1938 structure. This is a recent rendering done by the architect. Again, focusing back on what that would be used. This is notionally what it would. This is kind of a space view, multi-use for the gymnasium, have restrooms and storage to service that area, and then the conference learning center on the north end, with parking to cover events as well as visitors to the center. We had some rather, I don't want to say detailed, but this is kind of a space plan, next level, done by the architect to give a sense what a layout might look like for the gymnasium and the supporting infrastructure, bathrooms and storage for that space. No big surprise, everything's pending funding. If we had $7 million lying around, we'd be having a very different conversation right now.
Sure, no trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I know this group here, if you just had your checkbooks with you, we could have this handled, but anyway. But we are having a fundraising gala. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. To raise money, our target is to raise $150,000 to put a roof on. Since the last gala, we've had the engineering work done, and they've discovered some repairs needed on the structure that were not included in the previous estimate for a new roof. And they also identified a bunch of masonry work that they suggest all needs to be done when you do the roof, so you don't have to do it again. You don't want to, it's kind of like you're up on the roof, what else can I do while I'm up there? That's kind of what that's about. So we want to get that done, and I'm going to ask that, formally ask for that permission here in a minute, to be pursuing a new roof within the next year or so, as soon as possible. Architectural design, as soon as we can raise the money. Gymnasium redevelopment, all of course follows the architecture. I mean, in a dream world, we'd round up $5 million or whatever the number is, like now, and start the architectural design and have this thing up and running in 2 or 3 years. It's not a complicated project. We're not, it's not, so it could come together pretty quickly. And guys, jump in here if you have any questions before I get too wild here. There's a gala on the 27th. This is the free marketing pitch, but we want to raise money to get this thing done, so that's going to be on the 27th. Going to be at the community center, and we're going to have money to put a new roof on. Help get that done. Our request here to you is basically approve our work plan for 2026-2027. First and foremost, roof for the gymnasium, which would include engineering and architectural work, bid preparation. We know that's included, and we understand we'll be funding that, so that's kind of all in that money I was talking about. Begin scoping operations on operations. In my experience with projects for decades and decades, if there's anything we've learned, it's that you need to have the end in mind. You need to understand what the operation of this facility is going to look like, how it's going to be funded, and you don't jump into a design and then do that. You actually do that before you design it. It needs to be designed for purpose. So we want to start having conversations about what that operating organization might look like. There's lots of examples of assets that the city has in Stillwater and others across the country of how to operate a facility like this. So I think we start that now. We would like the city to sponsor a volunteer work day in the spring. There's Into the Streets, March 29th, and we would like the city to sponsor that event, provide dumpsters so we can haul stuff off, and we'll round up the volunteers. We want to get at the work on the interior. Thank you so much for your payment of or funding of the asbestos removal in the old building. A 1938 building, because as soon as that's cleared out of there, and of course as soon as we have an asset agreement, we want to get in there and start cleaning it up. There's kind of this next level, which is take down non-structural walls, remove drywall, pull out the plumbing, pull out the electrical, all that stuff that no longer has any service. There's a lot of floor protrusions. If you've walked around in there, there's little steel things sticking up all over the slabs, and there's tripping hazards and they need to go, so get those cleared out of there. There's suspended ceiling everywhere, so it's just a matter of clipping and dropping that stuff. It's not highly involved. A lot of broken glass in the building, and remove graffiti. There's some structural work. There's kind of like this temporary construction work element, and then there's this long-term structural work, like those cracks I was showing you in the ceiling areas. We're not going to do anything without approval of the city. I mean, so all this is going to be done with permission and access agreements. But we've got an architect that knows the building real well. We'll make sure that whatever we do makes sense and doesn't put anybody at risk and takes care of the city's asset. There's some site work yet to be done. There's tree stumps still around the building. They're not growing. They're not full-size trees yet, but they need to be cut all the way to the ground and killed and removed. And not sure what grading's going to be left. I think there's going to be some grading work done to finish out the demo, but any site work that needs to be done that the city and we agree, advisory committee agree needs to happen, then we'll try to make that happen too. So, any questions on that?
A couple.
Okay, go ahead.
So one issue has not been addressed, flooding.
Yeah.
What's the plan? How are you going to address
Okay,
that
great
issue?
question. I think maybe the first answer is that the building is phenomenally capable of handling floods. It's proven that by being here for 90 years and still in really, really good shape. So number one, I don't think the building's going anywhere. There are some cost-effective technologies that can be applied to raise floors, and that's what we're looking at. There's a technology called geofoam that's used all the time in construction that can be laid down to raise floors up. The building's got really high ceilings, so you have room to raise floors and get up out of the water. So that's one of the things we're looking at very strongly.
When I saw the picture with all the electronics in there.
Yeah, it'd be up above.
Electronics and water don't mix very well.
No, you're right. You're right. And so I don't think any electronics would be put on the floor. You know, typically in fact, all of those were overhead projectors. All the computer equipment would be mounted up high. But the plan is there's no way we would build this thing, have any of that stuff below flood line.
My impression is there's a high water mark in there that's still visible from an earlier flood. Is that correct?
I don't know. I mean, I've got a lot of photos I've looked at to get an idea where the flood line is, and we know what that is from surveys. But yeah, if we raise the floors up a bit, and I think that's manageable. Any other questions?
Yeah, if I know you mentioned there's going to be a gala, but if someone doesn't make it to the gala but wants to donate, how might they go about doing
God, I love questions like that. I mean, we would love to have you, but you can go to our website, Washington. In fact, it's as easy as typing into Google Washington School Stillwater, and we're about usually the third thing that shows up on a Google search. But it's actually Washington School Heritage Foundation .org, and there's two options. You can go to the gala, and that'll take you to a donation button, or you can go to how you can help, and that takes you to a donation button. So thank you so much for asking. All it takes is money, right? Okay.
Nothing that can't be fixed with a few $1 million.
Yeah, funny how that works.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's so cool to see with the surrounding parts taken down, and it's exactly what we hope for, which is when people can see this, it's going to give them even more of an understanding of what we want to do with it and what it can be.
Well, thank you
Drive
again.
that funding.
Thank you again for that.
Hopefully, we've got some marketing, like media stuff that we're planning. I don't know if we're working with Dawn or what, but we should be talking to news folks and getting people out. Like we need to get this picture out to people as much as we can. I'm sure you guys are working on that, but whatever we can do to help get the word out, show people.
I'm so with you on that,
Yeah.
and I appreciate the energy because it's contagious. So keep it up.
And you said the roof, the cost of repairing the roof is about $150K.
No, that's how much is left to pay. We have about $125,000 in our coffers right now, roughly. And we're getting these numbers kind of tightened up, but we're probably going to have to spend $35,000 just to get the bid package put together, have that design work done. Plus we got to put a new roof, plus we have all the masonry work. I mean, it's, anyway, that's
So closer to 275 to 300.
250-ish, I think, is a good round number.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I've noticed that as stuff has come down, some of the the boards for some of the window spaces and stuff are pretty old, and birds are coming in and out of there. I
Yeah.
assume we're going to do some
So
upkeep on some of that stuff.
And I'm going to be careful because my architect's probably ears are probably burning because we're so lucky to have one architecture. One architecture was involved in Greenwood Rising. They just were really architects on a massive project in Tahlequah at the Women's Seminary. They're doing a community center in Sapulpa, which was the actual black school there as well. They know all about these old buildings, and so we're so blessed to have them. And their initial thought is that all the windows, including all the mechanisms in the gymnasium, would be rebuilt. You'd take them out, go have them rebuilt, have them reglazed, reinstall them. The windows on the administrative part of the building, the north part of the T, the wood frames are in rough shape, and we're not sure that they're restorable. We'll probably have to put new in, but of similar era, so they retain the heritage of the building.
Jim,
I just meant that we're going to get it boarded back up and secure, so that
yeah.
it's not.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't
people aren't
understand.
getting in and out of it.
No, we paid. Actually, the foundation funded a $7,000 project to harden up that part of the building. Capstone came in and put on roofing material. I mean,
sure.
But
Really
just
got
in
it on
terms
there.
of access to keep the building secure, it'll be boarded up, I guess,
Yeah,
more properly and secured that way.
It is very secured right now. We've been watching it, and to our knowledge, the only access in the last month or month and a half has actually been the workers, and then the doors that have, I think, because they were in and out of that building. But it's pretty tight. Norm's the guy. Norm, how we doing over there?
We have one open door.
Which can be closed.
They had to tear it open for the asbestos removal.
Yeah.
As soon as they're done, we'll get it boarded in.
He's our security guy.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And staff does have plans. We actually talked today about what the concerns are when the construction fence comes down.
Yeah.
And there is a back part of the building that will have some shoring up and some security done. So we are working currently with Washington School Heritage Foundation. Mr. McNichol and I are frequent speakers to each other on the security, and we have looked at that as far as when the construction fence comes down, what next steps are, just to keep it as preserved as we can.
Excellent. Counselors, further questions? Really, really appreciate the work you guys are doing, the whole group. You guys, it's just fantastic.
Well,
and
thank
really
you.
excited about the future.
Thanks for your support.
keeping
Do we need
that
any
going.
formal action on this? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, back to Christy. Thank you. Excuse me.
Staff does have a recommendation for council when council is ready to
Go for
accept. Staff does recommend approval of the 26 work plan as presented by Washington School Heritage Foundation and Washington School Advisory Committee, and direct staff to work with the committee and the foundation to grant an access site agreement.
If I may amend that slightly to authorize the city manager to execute site access agreements as necessary to allow execution of the approved work plan.
Thank you for my phone a friend.
That's what I heard you say.
Thank you, sir.
Counselors, action on the recommendation?
Motion to accept staff recommendations?
Second.
A motion and a second. Please vote. Recommendation is approved with a vote of 5-0. All right, we are done with item 9 already, so we'll go down to item 10, ordinances on first read, ordinance 3590, an ordinance amending the Stillwater City Code, Chapter 23, Land Development Code, Article 1, General Provisions, Section 23-7, Definitions, Article 5, Use Categories and Limitations, Division 1 generally, Section 23-96, Definitions, Article 6, Land Use Classifications, Division 3, Residential District, Section 23-140, RMI Multifamily Intermediate District, and Section 23-141, RMU Multifamily Urban District. And Article 9, Landscaping Screening and Environmental Standards, Section 23-230, generally repealing all ordinances to the contrary and providing for severability.
Mayor, as a reminder, this ordinance as drafted does not incorporate the changes to the Section 23-230F as recommended by Planning Commission. So I would just ask, as we advance this, if you, I believe action on the item was to accept Planning Commission's recommendation, that we would just also clarify that on first read, and we will bring back those changes in the second read version.
All right, and in the secondary version, we'll also get rid of the preposition that ended that phrase.
Yes.
Thank you. Then I move to approve the Planning Commission recommendation.
Well, we're on the ordinance.
Are you going to advance
On the ordinance. Then I
ordinance?
move to advance ordinance 3590
With the changes?
with the changes as proposed by the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance the ordinance with the changes proposed. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3590 is advanced to second reading. Also on first reading, we have ordinance 3592, an ordinance amending the Stillwater City Code by creating a new chapter 30, Municipal Code Lien Enforcement, creating section 30-1, adoption of the Municipal Code Lien Enforcement Act of 2025, creating section 30-2 definitions, creating section 30-3 code violation fees and costs enforced in rem, owner occupied property exception, priority, creating section 30-4 in rem foreclosure of municipal code liens, creating 30-5, code enforcement, identification of properties, petition, notice, repealing all ordinances to the contrary, and providing for severability.
So the Municipal Code Lien Enforcement Act of 2025 is new legislation that was effective November 1st, 2025. Cities are required to enact an ordinance approving use of those provisions before proceeding. That act provides for a process to proceed with judicial foreclosure on a property with a municipal lien. Those liens apply to fees, penalties, and abatement costs that exceed $1,500 that are imposed against a property for abatement of violations of the city's housing and building codes. The measure also provides that the municipal code lien would be superior to all other liens except for those for taxes.
This is a new ordinance that was, or a new law that was passed by the state to make it easier for us to go collect money that we're owed on properties we've abated.
That's correct.
Good job.
And it's completely coincidental that it's here today.
Well, it just went into effect in November. Questions, comments, or action on the ordinance?
Motion to advance ordinance number 3592 to second read.
Second.
Motion and a second to advance the ordinance. Please vote. Ordinance 3592 is advanced to second reading with a vote of 5-0. On second reading, we have ordinance 3591, an ordinance amending the Stillwater City Code by creating a new chapter 34, Public Art Program, creating section 34-1 Purpose, creating section 34-2 Definitions, creating section 34-3 Fund Established, creating section 34-4 Administration, creating section 34-5 Stillwater Public Art Committee, creating section 34-6 Display of Public Art, creating section 34-7 Infrastructure Art Sponsorship Program, repealing all ordinances to the contrary, and providing for severability.
There have been a couple of changes from the first read version that were recommended by staff. They are reflected via tracked changes in the agenda packet. And I'm happy to call those out individually if you wish. Otherwise, you can review the changes via track changes. How would you like for me to proceed?
Councilors, questions on the changes that were tracked? Is there action on the ordinance?
Motion to adopt ordinance number 3591.
Second.
Do I need to say with changes or?
No, the second read version already has those changes reflected. Yeah, thank you.
So we have a motion and a second to advance, to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3591 is adopted. Reports from the officers on the board. Ms. Carnley.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Moore.
Yes, I'd like to just take a moment to share appreciation for staff. I'm always so proud of the work they do and grateful, just the impact that they make in our community every day, those that are seen and not seen. And this is one of those that's not seen, but our finance team has been working hard on so many things. We've had our clean audits come through recently. And in addition, we got some good news last week. They've been working with Fitch to do our annual credit rating review on the SUA revenue bonds, and they concluded that there would be no change in to our existing rating and outlook, which means we stay really strong with our AA minus with a stable outlook. So thanks to CFO Cluck for the way she leads that team, Lauren Smith and Jared Thulin for the work they put into that project.
Absolutely. Thank you all very much. Vice Mayor Jaloski.
City offices will be closed for President's Day on Monday, February 16th. Trash, recycling, and yard waste will still be collected. Make sure to set your carts out by 6 a.m. because collection routes can vary. For more information, go to stillwaterok.gov/waste management.
Thank you so much. Councilor Hawkins.
It is a time of year to file taxes, and Stillwater Library is offering assistance. Community members can schedule appointments for free tax preparation assistance from the American Association of Retired Persons, AARP, by scheduling an appointment online at stillwaterok.gov/library taxes or by calling 405-372-3633, extension 8103. Appointments are available now through April 7th. Stillwater Public Library is located at 1107 South Duck Street. Great service they provide.
Absolutely. And you can go look at pictures of the fire department while you're waiting. Councilor Clark.
As many of us know, we have a citizen request tracker on our website. This tool provides a mechanism for residents to report concerns regarding drainage and flooding, street light outages, trash collection issues, animal control requests, and more. Please consider using this system for non-emergency concerns that we need to check out. To get started, go to stillwaterok.gov/report. I'm the guy in my neighborhood who requests trash cart repairs for my neighbors because they don't even know how it's there, and I just put the requests in.
That's excellent. I was speaking to the Stillwater Car Club on Saturday morning and had a couple questions about places where lines need to be repainted on roads and a couple of streetlight issues. And I said, you know what? It's this great system. Because if you just tell me, I'm totally going to forget. So go to the system, report system online. Always a great place to let us know about things that need to be fixed.
And it's easy to use.
Yes, it is. Councilor Harden.
A couple of reminders that could help our residents best prepare in case of an emergency. Number one, please remember to apply or renew your burglar or fire alarm permit registration with the police department. Permits are $6 per alarm and free to government entities and also residents who are 62 years of age and older. Thank you very much. If you live outside city limits but within Stillwater Fire Department response area, please consider purchasing a rural fire service contract. The annual fee is $200, and the contract provides assurances that can save you thousands of dollars. We want to help in all ways possible to keep you and your family protected and safe. For more information, go to stillwaterok.gov.
Very important information. Thank you. I will let you all know that construction on the new airport terminal is now more than 75% complete, with interior finish work underway, including tile installation, painting, and cabinetry. The project remains on schedule, and we're looking forward to servicing daily commercial flights to DFW from the new terminal in August. Also, work on the new access road is progressing, with the roadway now more than 30% complete and anticipated to open in March. As construction continues, there will be upcoming closures along Airport Road. However, there will be detours to ensure access to the airport terminal. We appreciate everyone's patience and request that when driving in the area, possibly add a few minutes for travel time. To check on the progress of the new terminal and transportation projects, you can go to stillwaterok.gov. Anything further, councilors? Or a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. We have a motion and a second to adjourn the city council. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now adjourned. At this time, I'll call to order the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for February 9th, 2026. Trustees, questions, comments, or action on the consent docket?
Motion to approve consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. There's nothing further on this agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn SUA. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Stillwater Utility Authority is now adjourned, and that concludes our meetings for this evening.